Thank you so much for joining, everyone. First of all, Adil, great presentation. It's a really tough act to follow, so hopefully I'll do a good job. And in a way, it's actually destiny that I'm going right after him, right? So a lot of things which I picked up from you is, how is the spend happening? What's the buyer behavior? What are they doing today? And what are some of the trends? And I want to talk about that. So I'm Sharath Jagadish from G2, and what I'm going to talk about today is how to grow into North America from a G2's perspective. And for the people who don't know what G2 is, I'll just take like 10 seconds. We are the world's largest B2B marketplace where you go for software. We get about 80 million users coming to our platform on a yearly basis. We've got about 2,100 categories, which is the highest, and 100% of enterprise traffic. So we help customers sell to their vendor, to their buyers, right? And what we've seen is a lot of APAC vendors want to sell into North American market. That's one of the things we've heard and seen from our customers. We're seeing a trend where North American vendors want to sell into APAC as well, right? But the trend is more in terms of how do you grow into North America, and that's what I want to talk about today. And quick introduction about me, that's my family, and no, we don't dress like that every day. I've been working in sales for the last 17 years. I've been working with customers in technology adoption, and I love what I do. I was really lucky to work in some really good companies. Adil and I have worked together in 2 companies so far, and I've got some really great mentors. And before I get into how to grow into North America, I thought let's take a pause and get some good news, right? All of us know we deserve some good news, especially this market. So what we did is, G2 does something called a buyer behavior report, which Chris Perrine, who's our MD, is speaking. I think he spoke about half an hour back about it, where we reach out to thousands of companies across the globe and trying to understand, hey, what are buyers talking today? What's important for them? What's the trend? So what I did is, throughout this presentation, I've taken some excerpts of it, especially from an forward-looking for 2024. And if you want the report, I can share it with you. We have a booth here. The first good news is, buyers are now region agnostic when they're trying to buy software. I mean, services kind of cracked this about a couple of decades back where they're trying to get business from North America. But when you look at software product, you need to have an office in North America if you have to sell into North America, have an office in EMEA if you have to sell into EMEA, but that trend is changing. What the founders and a lot of companies are saying is, we want the best of breed software, and I don't care where they are built out of. Good news for us, and what our data says is 10% of the leaders on G2 is from APAC. Good trend. The second thing, which is my favorite, I'm in sales, as I said, we asked the customers, hey, how do you forecast your spend in 2024 compared to this year? And I think Adil also brought this up, and this is great. 94% of them said they're either going to spend more or the spend is going to remain constant, and just 6% of them said they're going to reduce the spend. We double-clicked on it and said, who are these users? Every founder or a CXO and senior-level leadership said they're going to increase the spend or maintain the spend. It's the entry-level and mid-level managers who said, I'm going to reduce my spend. So if I have to give you one tip, try top-down, right? I know we love building relationships. Sometimes we get stuck in relationships, but now's the time you go top-down, identify a board-level objective of your customer, align your solution to that. Right? Hopefully, now we're in a good place. This is some couple of good news. Let's get into how to expand into North America, right? And the reason I chose racing cars is because I could relate, right? If you look at the audience that we have today, we are a bunch of companies who are trying to reach a 10 million ARR, and we're trying to grow. And the easiest association I could do is with an F1 car. Right? Because F1 car has got a ton of tactics, a ton of technology, maneuvering and all of that. So in a way, when I look at you expanding into North America, I visualize you driving a race car. A quick statutory warning, if you don't see the team that you love on that, just focus on the content, yeah? So what I strongly believe in is, irrespective of how you drive, you always got to start with first care. And the way I look at first care is building trust. How do you build trust with your customers to increase your sales? And according to me, customer trust is the biggest moat. If someone says it's not, you're working in the wrong company, right? You got to build a customer trust. And the way we help you do it on G2 is by capturing reviews. And why is reviews important, right? Let's go back to our buyer behavior report. When we ask users, hey, what is your most influential source when you're trying to shortlist a vendor or choose a vendor, the first point actually cut very deep for me. They said they just trust sales 1%. We in fact dropped 2 points from last year. What it also did is they said we do not trust vendor-driven content, and that dropped from 10% to 7%. And we actually know the answer why, because literally every website starts with, we are a leading provider of, right? So we said, okay, what do you trust on? They said, we trust our peers. We want to understand what the users of the software are doing. So about 84% of them are actually relying on online review websites before they even start shortlisting a particular vendor. And Adil also mentioned about the journey. We're talking about pre-aware, aware, and problem-aware, and all of those. And we have a very similar observation as well. So for that, let's look at a very, very simplified version of a buyer's journey, right? I've kind of oversimplified it. No buyer comes to your website directly. Let's accept it, right? Let's break that bubble. They come to your website through a variety of places. They're either searching for you organically, they're coming to G2, they looked at one of your kick-ass advertisements, or one of your BDR, like Rockstar BDRs have reached out to them. They come to your website, they become a lead, they become an opportunity, they become a customer. Extremely simplified. Now, where exactly do you start building the trust? If you insert the customer trust and advocacy, it starts way before. So the moment the customer is thinking of, hey, I think there is a problem statement, or they've not even realized that they have a problem statement, you need to start build trust right then and there. Irrespective of which avenue they're coming to you from. They can be coming to you from Google or your advertisement or BDR. You got to build your trust there. Throughout the process, you got to build your customer advocacy program. A lot of our customers have actually an official customer advocacy program, but if you don't have it, make it a part of your culture as well. And throughout the process, you got to keep improving conversion. There are a lot of marketers, a lot of founders here today. Everyone talks about, hey, what's my CPL, right? What's my CAC? The only way you can improve that is if you can improve your conversions, and that's what we want to talk about today, right? And if you look at from a G2's perspective, we spoke about 80 million. I can categorize into 3 different types of users. One is vendors. Everyone is selling software. 2 is buyers. People are trying to buy software from you. And 3 are VCs. We also work with a lot of VCs. We give them investor data solutions. They come to G2 to make decisions on how do I include companies, either funding opportunities and all of that. So what I want you to look at is, why is it important to invest in customer trust, and what's the POV? So if you look at this is a G2 profile, right? When I look at it from a vendor's perspective, it's pretty simple. What you look at is, hey, how many reviews do I have? This is another place where I just want to go do branding, and I just want to see how much leads were converted. Leads is something which all of us love, right? We want to look at how many leads it generated. But when you look at from your customers or your buyer's POV, they are looking at, hey, what are my peers talking about? What are the users saying? Like, they want to understand, I want to get a lot of information on the vendor. The reason is G2 is a condensed version of your website itself, and very similar to B2C, they love going to an aggregator. They see what they can do to get information on a vendor. Third thing they do is they compare different vendors. This is one of the top 3 activities we've seen buyers do on a platform. They take a vendor and compare them with their competitors, right? So they want to understand how it is. So you got to build the trust and influence your customer throughout the process. When you look at from a VC's POV, and unfortunately the vendor POV does not change, the VC's POV is looking for validation. How big is this category? How many competitors are there? How many customers are there? How many reviews are there? How competitive is this particular vendor? Is this a funding opportunity for me? Right? So this is what VCs do, and the way we work with founders, especially in the segment from 0 to 50 mil, is we also share information on who are the VCs who are looking at you. What kind of information are they looking at you? How many times have they compared you with other vendors, and so on and so forth. This is something we help, especially when you're expanding into North America. And what we expect you to do is just invest in a G2 profile. You can literally create it free of cost. You don't have to pay us anything. It's a freemium model, but you got to be here because this is where your buyers are going before they make a decision, right? And what's in it for you? Sorry for that. What's in it for you? We have seen that a solid G2 profile increases your conversion by 5 to 10%. There are marketers in the room, you exactly know the value of improving by 5 to 10%. What we've also seen is when a customer makes an online review site as a part of their decision process, your sales cycle reduces by 63%. Adil spoke about sales cycle increasing in SMB, mid-market enterprise. I feel it. I'm going through it, Adil. I know what you mean. This is how you can at least influence and kind of reduce it, right? So one tip, if we have to give you, is do an in-app integration. So G2 integrates with a lot of applications. You can actually do an in-app integration to get a lot more reviews. And there is one company in India who's got 11 employees, right? They got 126 reviews in less than 4 months because they opened it up to their trial users, their freemium users. We're talking about PLG. You've got your users right then and there, and they got 126 reviews. It did not take too much time, and they're actually competing with one of the large vendors across the globe. Cool. Now that you've built the trust. What you got to do is use it, right? And I keep going. As I said, this is a destiny that I'm going right after you. There's so many things I can relate to what you said. You've built a trust. How do you leverage it? You got to drive customer advocacy to get leads. A lot of vendors come to your website. A lot of vendors come to your web properties and marketing properties. But how do you build trust? The first thing you do is use the damn badges. You get badges on G2, which is completely driven by reviews. You don't have to pay us for any badges. The more reviews you get, it's based on quality, quantity, and recency. You can get those badges, use it. Here is an example of a customer who's used a badge in their homepage. So when a buyer comes into the platform, and buyers know what G2 is, they're like, hey, they are like a leader according to G2, so probably I can trust them. They have not bought themselves into it. We've also seen customers using it in different pages. So this is the customer of ours, Bird Eye, which uses a G2 badge in their trial and sign-up page. So it drives a lot more trust. You're actually leveraging the advocacy and telling them, hey, listen, we are one of the top because our customers are saying this and we're not paid it, right? And what's in it for you? What we've seen is when you use a content, the traffic converts 10x higher coming from G2's content compared to other traffic, which is extremely, extremely important. And we've also seen that when you use badges, we can actually improve lead conversion by 40 to 80%. These are facts we've seen with thousands of our customers. We work with about roughly 3,800 customers as of last week, and this is the data we've got from them. The driver's tip that I have for you is one mistake or a bad practice I've seen vendors do. They take every content, every user-generated content, and dump it into one place. Spread this across, right? Have badges on your homepage, have your grid on the homepage. We have something called usability index, something which even Adil spoke about. I'll give you an example. Comparisons between different vendors in your product place. So we'll actually help you do this, but do not accumulate everything into one single place. It's actually counterproductive, right? Now that you've done this, it gets interesting. You're getting into third gear, right? This is where you've kind of managed your inbound. Now you got to proactively go start building pipeline. If you're competing with vendors in the US, which is one of the largest market for B2B sales, but B2B SaaS sales, you got to be as proactive as possible. So you take the moat that you've built, and now you start proactively building the generating pipeline. And for that, I want to go back to our buyer behavior report. Let's try and understand. What we said is 84% of them trust their peers or an online review site. The reason they do this is because they're way more confident in the decision. The peers are telling them how the software is working, and because these are reviews generated by users, they also get the positives and negatives. I'm a big fan of negative reviews. If you're booking a hotel, if you just see 25-star rating, you would never book that hotel. You'd probably go to somewhere around 4.1, 4.3 because you get the actual picture, right? So this is why they trust them. And when we also asked them, what's the number one challenge you have when you're trying to shortlist a vendor? Buyers said, 60% of them said, we do not get credible content. That's one of the reasons I want to talk to users. If some of you here are doing enterprise sales, you probably would have heard your prospect saying, can I get some reference calls? I want to actually talk to someone and see how the software is working, right? And about 82% of them said the maximum time they spend is on research. And another thing which we also observed, and I'm sure every one of you agree here, B2B buying process is kind of mimicking B2C. Right? So B2C is way more matured in terms of reviews and all of that, right? I mean, every time you book a hotel, you go out for a dinner, you actually look at reviews. B2B buying is kind of mimicking that process. So we are looking at innovation in advertising, we're looking at reviews, we are looking at self-serve. So there's something which when Adil said he chose a software, this is something we're seeing a lot of companies do. They're like, hey, listen, I love your sales team, but I want to do it myself. Can you just put me through a PLG? And a lot of them are now comfortable buying through a credit card. When we went back to our buyer behavior report, about 53% of them said they are open to make a decision on a payment on credit card for a software which is less than $30,000. And they're also able to make decisions faster. An enterprise company can make a decision worth $20,000 in less than 3 months. So that's the pace at which we're going. So when you're trying to proactively gone are the days when you got, I don't know if people have been working here in sales for a long time, we used to have something called suspect list and convert to prospect list. That's the biggest pain point, right? So what you got to do now is identify your buyer behavior, understand what part of journey they are in, and start targeting them. And that's what we call as buyer intent. where our customers actually use buyer intent. There's a difference between buyer intent and search intent, right? Search intent is anyone searching for anything. Buyer intent is where they're looking to buy. And let's be honest, G2 is not a fun site. No one comes to G2 because they're bored or they're looking at Instagram reels. They come to G2 because they want to buy. So that's what we do is, from the slide you saw before, we capture each and every part of the journey from a customer and kind of give it to you as a signal. So what you got to do is first and foremost, understand who your market is. Salespeople do a similar mistake like marketing. Marketing takes all the content, dump it into one place. What sales does is, hey, there are 40,000 people looking at my software. Let me put them in one campaign and shoot a mass email. You're still doing spray and pray. Right? What you got to do is identify, and we help you segregate it, identify which of my customers are in awareness stage. Like they still need a lot of awareness. Let's talk about the category, some thought leadership. Which of these customers are in consideration stage, where they're slightly mature, they know what they have to do, they're comparing different vendors, they've identified a problem statement, and which are the vendors who are in decision stage. And once you identify this, you got to put it into your tech stack, right? Do not have isolated systems. You got to marry each and every tech stack together. And every buyer behavior or every buying stage gets a different type of targeting or a different type of messaging. You got to do a lot of targeting based on this. And finally, you got to target buyers on LinkedIn. Instead of just creating a TAM of 40,000, 400,000 people when you're doing a Lima campaign and just shooting a message, redirect your buyer intent signal. Tell them, hey, here are my 10,000 companies who are in awareness stage. Here are my 8,000 who are in consideration and 5,000 in decision. Let's retarget them let's retarget them based on that, and it gives you a much higher result. And what we've seen as a result, and this is based on our customers, is when you target in-market buyers, your cost per lead reduces anywhere between 25 to 40%. And what we've also seen is when you use an intent signal and do retargeting, it helps you in your MQLs, in your SALs, and your SQLs. One of the best practices to do with customers is if you see a company in consideration or decision stage, directly mark it as an MQL and pass it to the BDRs. And BDRs have an SLA of reaching out to them within one day. I think this is something which Adil spoke about. How do we convert this? You can't do this for an awareness customer. You're too early, right? Someone is trying to learn about, let's say, ERP software, and then you send them here is a demo request. They're like, hey, back off. I'm still too early. I want to understand about ERP, right? So take your consideration and decision, directly move it, and that's what's seen as a best practice. Drive a step, use your Google Ads to drive lead generation. This is a brilliant strategy which ChargeBee did. So ChargeBee is one of the most annoying competitors, Recurly. So they actually bid on the competitive keyword, right? So whenever anyone is searching for Recurly, they put a G2 report on the top of an ad, but they're still talking about Recurly, and they increase their CTR and conversions because of this, right? We're happy to work with you a lot of this. I just want to share as many tactics as possible. Now that you do this, right, in F1's parlance, you're getting into a chicane, right? When you're getting into a chicane, what you got to do is get your sales team on board. Sorry. Sure. So this one? Yeah, so what they did is they actually competed on a targeted competitive keyword. So someone is searching for Recurly. They actually put a report from G2, is again based on reviews and a lot of user-generated content on, hey, here is Recurly, like the alternative, or this is how we compare with Recurly. And when they click on it, they also have some content on Recurly and how they're comparing against it. So they obviously did not have a lot of bounce rate, but that helped them get a lot of CTR. This is actually gated, so that's how they got the leads. Cool. So as I said, chicane, that's when you get your sales team, and this is when things start getting interesting, right? From a first perspective, you got to book more meetings. The way you do it is take all signals from consideration and decision and move it to your BDRs ASAP. Let your awareness signals go to your marketing. I think your marketing team knows the best how to run a lot of awareness campaigns, but your consideration and decision has to go to your BDRs, because your customers, if you remember, are able to make a decision in 3 months. They're able to pay through a credit card. The second thing you need to do is leverage your reviews, right? Reference pages. So we also keep talking about, hey, it's so difficult to build a customer story, right? Whatever customer case study is called customer story, it's extremely difficult to do it. What you can do and what you need to do is use custom reference pages as part of your sales cycle when you're reaching out to your prospects and customers, and do a lot of competitive comparisons, right? So we've seen vendors who go head on, like it can be a ChargeBee versus Recurly, or they can go at a category level, do a lot of competitive comparisons. This will help you in your prospect as well as your customer business. Prospect because you're trying to win them, customer because if they go shopping around and looking at your competitors, this is how it helps. let me put some numbers, right? What we've seen is, for any time you use a buyer intent signal, G2 is able to influence about 20 to 30% of your pipeline. And the way we do it is we go back every 6 months, we do a pipeline analysis, and this is the number we've got. It has to influence 25 to 30% of your pipeline. We have seen that any company coming through an intent signal, the ACV improves by 21 to 80%, which I would love as a salesperson. And finally, and this is my favorite, we've seen when companies use their custom reference pages during or late stage of the opportunity, the win rate is as high as 98%. Some of you might roll your eyes saying 98% is too high, but this is in the late stages of sales cycle. Right? So that's one it's for you. And talking about comparisons, I think this is the question which you asked as well. This is how a company actually uses direct comparisons on their website. And this is completely driven by reviews, and it delivers so much of customer advocacy when someone is trying to shortlist a vendor. Right? So finally, this is your home run. If you have to just hit a nitrous, now come out to a chicane, let's go through the checkered flag. What we would recommend you to do is first and foremost, implement in-app reviews, get as many reviews as possible. This is what will help you build your strongest moat, which is customer advocacy. Drive your inbound from G2, use it across your website, use your badges, use it on LinkedIn, drive as many inbound as possible. Always leverage your badges in different web properties. Do not keep it in one single place. And obviously integrate it with your tech stack. It can be your LinkedIn, it can be your ABM campaigns, integrated. And this should hopefully help you win the race. With that, thank you so much for being patient with me. I hope I was relevant. Any questions? Just shout, have a loud.
So your in-app review, right? The API that you said. So we have a chat application inside our SaaS product, which is for users to interact with each other. Think of it as a Slack within that. So I was just thinking, can we bring in that in-app review within that chat application?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a lot of customers who use their support. They integrate an in-app review during the support. For any customer who gives them like a certain rating, like, hey, would you mind leaving a review for us? That's one of the use case. We can actually help you do that as well.
We actually implemented G2 on our logout page.
Thank you so much.
We had a
case study people.
So we have a very dynamic login and logout page. Over there, we as soon as the user would log out, we would have a G2 page, and they would go and put a review. So
thank you so much for that. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day and enjoy your event. We have a booth. Come and visit us if you have any more questions. And we also have printed, I didn't know this, we printed this morning the buyer behavior report I was talking to you about. Get a copy of it if you're interested. Thank you again.
And Ravi from March Capital will talk about that. Like, how many of us are trying to raise funds? Like, show of hands. Okay, a few. Great. So Ravi, all yours.